Thank you for engaging with us. And I'm going to ask, as president of the Susan B. Anthony List, a couple of life-oriented questions. And Maggie will, of course, ask a couple of marriage-oriented questions. So, the first, just a softball, it really is, what is your position on the right to life? How was that position shaped? And what specific experience have you had in advancing that position?
Sure. Well, thanks for that question. And, of course, it's the most important one. I am pro-life. My wife and I are devoutly Catholic. We're the parents of 4 children, 3 sons and a daughter, and have been consistently pro-life throughout our lives and our marriage. In terms of my activity around the pro-life cause, I'd offer 2 thoughts. One, I've worked consistently for pro-life candidates and causes in the political arena over the course of the last decade or so, decade and a half, around politics, whether that's at the party or on various campaigns, or working to make certain that the pro-life stance in our platform is strong and respected, or in my personal life. And not just in our marriage, but as a matter of faith as well. I lived and worked at the Catholic Church in campus ministry while I was a student at Iowa State University. And one of the many things we did there was help young women into the right kind of counseling during crisis pregnancies, to make certain that they understood the options and alternatives that they had available to them, that they had the right kind of support, and that ultimately they made the right choices.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for that response. Thanks for what it took to get there. That is a question about the heart in your experience. The next is more about a little bit more practical and future-oriented and hands-on. If you become the chairman, how will you act? If you become the chairman, what will you change, or what will you do the same in terms of putting resources behind this issue, especially since we see that it helps candidates and it provides an extra increment in campaigns where votes are critically needed at the end when it's very close?
Well, I think the most important thing we can do is win elections with candidates who understand and support the key elements of our platform. As you know, one of the very first things that President Obama did was to roll back the Mexico City policy. And if we're going to change that, we've got to start winning elections, or continue winning elections now. And we're not going to do that in 2012 unless we put the RNC back on track. 2010 was a very good cycle for Republicans and for pro-life candidates. But there were a lot of advantages that we had going in 2010 that we can't count on in 2012. And the next chairman of the RNC is going to have to lead the way in making sure that we recreate a very positive political environment, and that we ensure that the grassroots infrastructure, the turnout programs, and funding mechanisms are in place so that those candidates who do support our pro-life platform can be successful in winning elections. That's got to be the first mission of the chairman of the RNC. If we're not doing that, we can talk all day long about being pro-life, but we're not going to affect public policy change. And so the next chairman has to be first and foremost completely committed to building the kind of organization and resourcing the kind of organization that can beat Barack Obama and roll back his policies, and do that within the context of having respected the pro-life nature of our platform. I would add that the platform, as you know, is rewritten and reapproved by the National Convention every 4 years, and that will happen during the term of the next chairman, whether that's me or someone else. I don't expect at this point any serious challenge to the pro-life nature of our platform, but certainly as chairman, I would fight to ensure that the pro-life planks in that platform remain strong and unchallenged.
Let me just have a short follow-up, which is to describe or explain how important you think it is to put resources behind people that are within the RNC and working with pro-lifers from within the RNC in campaigns and putting resources behind that, whether that means in terms of human resources or in in the middle of campaigns when putting money in where it makes sense in an election where the pro-life issue needs some more momentum behind it, which only resources can provide.
You're absolutely right about that, and I think that one of the challenges the RNC faces, of course, is that our contribution caps directly to candidates are really quite low. The place that the RNC under federal law really most has the most latitude, the most ability to impact elections, is in funding turnout operations, from voter ID and voter registration through absentee and early voting programs, the 72-hour program, which focuses, as you know, on election day turnout. Those programs, I think, are the places that first, from a legal point of view, the RNC can fund, must fund if we're going to be successful in 2012. And it's also the place where a candidate doesn't get much other help. A candidate's campaign can run the advocacy and the messaging components of a campaign better than anybody else. There are third-party organizations that can come in and help with messaging and help build a winning coalition. But only the party operation really can come in and run those turnout efforts. The truth of the matter is that successful campaigns have a little bit of everything. But we've got to make sure, and the next chairman of the RNC has got to make sure that the part that the national party and the state parties can provide, which really is the turnout operation, is well funded. And of course, you can have all of the great plans in the world, political plans, sitting on the shelf at the national party that don't do anything if you can't resource those. And so putting dollars into those programs in states where we have solid candidates and good opportunities to win, expand our pro-life majority in the House, add one in the Senate, and I think most importantly for the national party, making certain that we beat Barack Obama with a pro-life Republican nominee, I think have got to be the priorities of the next chairman. We talk about political plans with respect to the chairmanship, but the chairman's first job is to make sure that those are resourced. And so my commitment every day, in fact, just last night I had a conference call where we invited all 168 members of the RNC to talk through not just the rhetoric around raising money, but a specific plan, point by point. How do you bring major donors back into the party? How do you reduce the cost of fundraising? How do you make certain that we're not burning out our mail and phones lists and that we're adding new donors both at the small dollar levels as well as the major dollar levels? How do we bring new raisers into the party and so forth? How do we make sure that state party operations are as well funded as they can be, not just through transfer dollars, but by making certain that they have all of the tools and the best practices knowledge that they can have in order to make certain that they're raising the kind of resources they can raise in their own states as well, so that we can resource these candidates and the turnout programs behind them. So I think that's got to be the #1 mission of the next chairman.
I know you've been there. You've
absolutely,
and you've already been doing it.
Yeah.
So I know you got it. So that's good. Good. I have one more question, and it is a resource-oriented question, but it's a more a walk-the-walk kind of question that we're asking of, that I'm asking of every candidate. And it is, I'm going to read it because it's, actually I'm not going to read it. Oh, I am going to read it because I want to get it right. Have you ever given a contribution to or bundled candidate contributions through a pro-choice group such as Wish List or Planned Parenthood?
Never, and I never would. We don't just have a political objection to that. We have a moral and religious objection to that. There is no more important objective than protecting the sanctity of life. It is in our first founding document. It is the first right endowed by our Creator, recognized by our founders, and it is one that we hold dear personally and politically.
Gentry, well said, and exactly the right answer. No, certainly the Susan B. Anthony list is dedicated to the type of operation that is the opposite of what I just described in Wish List and Planned Parenthood. So God bless you.